I'm Turk Strongman at the Ron Q Amateur Rocker. Thank you for selecting this video on the institution of marriage. Before continuing, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I recommend that you take the time right now to pause the video and do it. I think it's in your own best interests. While you're at it, activate the notification bell feature. If by the end of the video you found that you liked it, please remember to give it a thumb up. If I remember, I'll remind you when the time comes. Share the joy of the channel with others. Now, the institution of marriage. I don't think I'm going to be very popular with what I have to say. Let's see how it goes. My impetus for creating this video right now, arises from an experience I had within the last 24 hours. I have a life mate here at home. She and I have been together for about 10 years. I'm not going into specifics. Those are between she and I. I'll give you a general picture, very general picture, of what occurred as our point of departure into what I have to say here about the institution of marriage and what that has to do with your own sovereign self, your own self-mastery. Okay. When there's a couple, a pair, a man and a woman, let's say, that's largely what it is still in our society. Traditionally, it's a man and a woman. They mate up. They have kids. They get married. And as such, it turns out, quite often, in the perceptions of others, the actions and decisions and characters of the one person in the pair, man or woman, in the perceptions of others, are those of the other person in the pair. They are taken to be, and they are perceived as a unit. It has two component parts, but they are one pair. They are of the same mind. That's the way it's taken to be. And the longer a pair is together in a family-oriented relationship, it often becomes the case. They go through life together, they grow together, they make decisions together. If they stay together, which they're expected to do, that's the expectation that comes with it, they often begin to think alike. They come to think more and more alike. They get in tune with one another. Their metabolisms harmonize. Their thought patterns harmonize. Often to the extent, 40 or 50 years into a marriage, and they may sit in the same living room together for hours, not even really talk. They know what each other's thinking. They're harmonized. They're of the same ilk. And so that does happen. So there is that as a reason why others will perceive them as being one and the same person with respect to their interactions with other people. outside of that relationship. Now, and a situation arose here. One of my primary family members, a brother, called me, and he had something he needed to gripe about. Something had occurred. He found out through the grapevine that somebody here in this household was either my partner here, my female partner, or I, had said something about him that he didn't want to have said to other people. I answered the phone. He verbally and emotionally interlocuted with me as though I had done it. No questions asked about that. As though it was me. He used the word you did this. He might have meant you plural. But I don't know. It's the English language. He didn't say you'nses. He said you, which can be singular or plural. But I don't know which he meant. Either way, he was saying you to me. So even if he meant it plurally, it included me. But I hadn't done it. Whatever it was, what this thing was that he didn't like hearing had happened. It was the other person here in the household who did it, and I didn't know about it. So I informed him, and that altered, that redirected his attention from me to her. Now, point is, oh, yeah, we're not even legally married, okay? And that's known by my brother. But still, the notion, this relevant perception that I'm talking about here applied as though we were married. Okay. My point, the reason I'm bringing that up, that exemplifies, it serves as an example of something. That something is that, let's just talk about marriage now, because that's the usual state of affairs that brings about this perception that other people have about a married couple. It's those, it's Thoenses, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, that family, those guys. What the one of those guys does, it reflects very much on the other person, the other one of those guys. Okay. When you put the wedding band on, you're tied together. That's the whole idea. You give up some of your personal freedom in life, some of your individuality, no matter what you think otherwise, no matter what you believe otherwise, no matter how you act otherwise, no matter what you say to other people otherwise. It's more than just your notion that you're still your own man. Going on a lot more. You know what the wedding band symbolizes? You're probably going to say, yeah, marriage. What's it for? Well, you're probably going to say, wants to let other people know you're taken. That other person made an honest man out of you. Or you made an honest woman out of her. Honest. Well, I don't know where that came from. But yeah, you're taken. No, there was a lot more to it than that. The wedding band represents the whole notion of it. It relates with the rings of Saturn. The rings around Saturn. The planet Saturn. It's a Saturnic symbol. According to medieval and ancient alchemists and astrologers, Saturn was a planet representing human toil, drudgery, slavery, melancholy. In fact, doesn't Saturn, just the way it looks, with its rings, look a little melancholy? It is the planet representing human oppression, a shackled condition. What are shackles? Rings of bondage. Why might it be that another name for the wedding band is the ball and the chain? When you put it on, you're adding something to your body. Yes, you're adding an entire ideology to your life. And you're giving up something in exchange. One thing you are giving up is your capacity to make your own decisions for yourself on your own in all cases throughout the rest of your life. In all cases where the other person may have their influence over what you do, you always have to consider that other person. And that other person will always be thinking about you with what you're doing, what you're deciding. Your decisions may be strongly influenced by that other person. In real time, in specific cases, you may act, talk, think, feel, interact with others differently because of that other person who has a complimentary wedding band on than you would otherwise. That's the arrangement. Now, because of tradition, peer influence in the world, the socialization or domestication process we all go through in growing up, and religious dogma associated with this institution of marriage, which has it that it's an institution established by God. It's a divine thing. It's a promise made before God. You give up quite a bit of your individual sovereignty. Again, a little example of how that works. Not exactly having to do with my decisions, but had to do with my actions as they were perceived by someone else. But in fact, they weren't my actions at all. But I was accused of them simply because I'm the other person here. I'm mate with that person. So, well, it didn't matter which one of us did the thing. It was whichever one of us answered the phone. But I straightened it out with not much difficulty. It did give me impetus for making this video. Now, what's this have to do with self-mastery? It has a lot to do with it. If you are on a course a genuine course towards self-mastery, with self having the capital S, mastery over your mind, your emotions, your thoughts, your actions, with your true self, the very core of your being, not your mind, not your emotions, not your body, as the master over those other things, those components of you that are its instruments of expression and experience and energy control. Right away, I think you can see where I'm going with this. That means not under the control of outside influences, including those of another person, no matter who that other person is. You cut off a significant portion of your divine right to self-sovereignty when you put on that ring, which symbolizes a shackle, guys. That's what it was fashioned after. I love this idea that, but it's God's thing. Where did that come from? Come on. Where did that idea come from? What God? I'm not sure. I'll just throw out here an idea. Saturn was once worshipped as a god. I'll just leave it at that. And by the way, did you know that a good portion of the valid etymology of the word Satan links it with the word Saturn? And What's the job of Satan, according to religious dogma? Kind of like the same as that attributed to the symbolic interpretation of the planet Saturn. So what are you really putting on? What's the real thing that you're doing, probably without knowing it, when you put on this God-ordered ring during your wedding ceremony? Why the hell would a God that is interested in your individual best interests, that highest best interest being movement toward true selfhood and self-mastery, with the true self being master over all of your manifested component parts, which are its instruments? Why? Would that God institute a shackled situation for humanity that puts a big damper on that? But you might say, well, look, come on, man. Humans are just naturally one mate for life creatures. Oh, really? Well, if you hear me say, oh, really? You might have your immediate response to that. Your proof is marriage. My counter-argument is, well, why would there have to be this ring, this whole magical ceremony, this whole ritual, to kind of like seal the deal, if it were just a natural thing for people to do in the first place? Seems to be kind of forced to me. In the guise of a divine command, in accordance with our natural, in accordance with nature. Why would many people, despite their promises, despite the band on their finger, despite all of the family turmoil that it can bring about, the breakup of the relationship, the hurt, and all else that comes with it, go ahead and have sex outside the marriage? If it were just the natural thing for people to have one mate, and one mate only, for life. Increasingly, there is a new dawn of awareness, a resurrection of bringing forth into the public ideas, an inner urge, an inner drive, an inner awareness coming to conscious awareness across the world of things associated with self-mastery, self-actualization, sovereign selfhood. A constructive urge from deep within a growing number of people to evolve, to become more than what we are, to self-manage all aspects of our constitution. We cannot do this very thoroughly, very efficiently, very effectively, very consequentially when shackled to someone else's decisions for us, and when we are equated with that other person's actions in the world. There's only one thing left to talk about here. What about the family unit? What about kids? Well, for one thing, a lot of kids come about because of recreational sex among two people who are paired up, at least for the day, for the night, or for the hour. Mostly, though, supposedly for life. But the sex is recreational. Oh, I'm pregnant! Now, yeah, there are those cases in which some people are trying to have a child. In large, the sex is still recreational. Don't get too 100% on me here about the family and the kids as being part of marriage. A large portion of the kids, where there is marriage, or anything that's close to it, are due to recreational sex, guys. Come on. Okay, but what about the rest? I mean, or at least, what about all of them? Regardless of how they were conceived, or under what notions they were conceived, or due to its activities they were conceived. Once they are there, shouldn't the two stay together for their benefit? Okay, fine. I'll buy that. But is marriage necessary for that? No. It doesn't have anything to do with it. Really? Now, does it? Marriage. The ring. Ah, but then you still have the way other people perceive it. Well, that's a notion that's been developed for a long time. It's been around for a long time. But it's not necessary. If you want to claim your own in your cosmic sojourn, think very carefully about what symbols you put on your fingers, what ceremonies, and the ceremonies in which you engage when it comes to this supposedly divine institution of marriage, guys, and what it entails, and what it turns into and its consequences, which you've always been told, at least by the pastors, are all for the good, for your good, for becoming an honest man or woman. Think for yourself about it. It's dogma. Long-standing dogma accepted not only as nature's way, but also as divine command. What a nice way to keep people away from their individuality, true individuality as sovereign, self, core, controlled masters of their own spiritual and cosmic sojourn, their own full self-actualization. That is our divine duty. Did you like the video? Give it a thumb up. Did you hate it? Give it a thumb up anyway. What difference does it make to you? It makes a big one to me. Makes a big one to others who might actually gain something from this video. We take a number of clicks and views to mean something. You know, your opinion about what I had to say is not the only one that exists in the world. Give it a thumb up, subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell feature, and share the joy of the channel with others. You heard it right here on Theron Kiramaturaka. I'm Turk Strawman. Be well.